This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday 6th at 12 o'clock on the East Coast, and this is Kathy Neifeld with AgencyONE, and I am bringing you the second webinar in our three-part series focusing on opportunities with linked benefits and underwriting. Today we're going to be concentrating on SecureCare and the SecureCare Universal Life product. Our featured speakers are Dean Horger, who was a regional VP with SecureCare, and our very own Ed Stark. So I am going to turn this over to Dean and Ed. Please remember, if you've got any questions, please type them into the chat box, and we will do our best to address these questions at the end of the presentation. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Dean and Ed.
Hey everybody, this is Ed Stark. I just wanted to say thanks for taking the time today on the call. Again, that chat box is at the top right, so if you have any questions, please type them in there, and then we'll get them over to Dean ASAP, or as soon as we can get some time in there. We'll also open up the end of the call for some questions if needed. So Dean, thanks for being on with us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ed. Absolutely my pleasure being here today with you, and I can assure you the people that are on the call, you're in very, very good hands with AgencyONE, a great group. I learned a long time ago, the first thing I should say is to make sure you know what states we're not in, and that is New York, California, and Montana. We do not have a product available in those states at this time. So let me go ahead and tell you sort of where we're headed. Real short background on the company, talk a little bit about underwriting, sort of identify some differentiators for you with this product, and we have some sales ideas at the end. So with SecureCare, we're actually on Minnesota Life paper with this product, but SecureCare is A+ superior and a 96 Comdex, and that should be comforting to you as well as your clients. So very, very strong financials with the company. Let's take a little bit about the processes, application process. It is streamlined and underwriting. You can do paper or e-app. You can do e-app on our SecureCare Advisor site, and with that, the client completes that part one. We'll do an RX check and MIB. We're going to do a tele-interview. There will be a cognitive assessment on that for 56 years old and above. No parameds or labs, but we will do APS for a cause. We actually look at that as a positive. It gives us one more chance to hopefully say yes. So underwriting classes, you can see them. Non-tobacco, tobacco. We're sex distinct, and we do have a couples discount. We're pretty big into pre-screens. Those can be done either by email, and that email is listed here, SecureCare Quick Quote. And you can also dial the 888 number there and actually talk to an underwriter. Please don't order any APSs. That sort of gums up the work a little bit. If you're taking an application, make sure you get the applicant's email there, because as soon as we get that app in, we send them an email with the portal so they can actually schedule their own tele-interview, and sometimes that saves 5 to 7 days. So that's a little bit about what we've got from an underwriting standpoint and streamlined underwriting. Okay.
Hey, Dean, this is Ed. Just one quick question on that, because I know we had to come up on another call. But how long is that tele-interview? Is there a ballpark, like a client should be prepared for how long? Like what's the time frame for a typical interview?
A time frame, I would say probably 45 minutes to an hour. Some are shorter, some are longer, and a lot of it just depends. Two things. One, how much health history the person has. But we do have a form that I'd encourage you to always send out. So the advisor has it. It just preps them with the call, and so that's helpful. But that gives you sort of an idea. Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll have that. We'll have that form ready. So if anyone needs it, let us know.
Yeah, super. Great question. Okay. Product features. So differentiators. Just very, very quickly. I'm going to list them. Simplicity, we're fully guaranteed, so what you see is what you get. Our illustration's 14 pages. 3 of those are ledgers. Unbelievably easy, in my opinion, easy to understand. you know you have clients that are going to make you go through each page of the illustration. 14 pages is better than 24 or 43. We're straight cash indemnity, so no receipts and a lot of flexibility for the claimant. We've got a return of premium and a reduced paid up that's built in. The reduced paid up benefit might not come up that often if somebody decides to quit halfway through, let's say, a 10 pay. But I can tell you, regardless if your client's worth $1 million or $10 million and you're doing a 10 pay, they're always going to ask you, what happens if I stop paying premiums? We have a very good answer, a guaranteed reduced paid up, and we'll continue to inflate that benefit with whatever inflation option they had chosen. So pretty good deal. Return of premium is built in. We sell a lot of single premium, and with the single premium, it starts out at 80% on the vesting. In the beginning of year 6, you're at 100%. So that's something that's I think is very, very helpful. Multiple premium options. We have 1, 5, 7, 10, and 15. You see the face amounts. You see the issue ages here, 40 to 75. Probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we stopped this is the COVID-19 information, Ed. We stopped accepting applications for ages 71 and above. Ages 70 and above, we're underwriting mortality first, and it needs to be standard before we go forward. Generally speaking, before that, we were looking all the way through Table 4, which is what most companies do as well. We have a 90 calendar day elimination period. So on the 91st day, your claimant would wind up getting the monthly max, whatever that happened to be, unless he or she told us something differently. So that's what you have with that. But it is 0 days for home modification and caregiver training. 0 day elimination period for those two items. That's $5,000 and $1,000 respectively. So, okay. All right. One of the differentiators that I did not mention, or I mentioned maybe just briefly, is the international benefit. This is a big one. We have the most robust international benefits there. What we do is with this, we'll pay out 50% of the monthly max with this. We not only consider the acceleration, almost everything we sell, and you're probably familiar, a 2x4, 2-year acceleration and a 4-year extension. We don't just consider the 2-year acceleration, we consider the extension. That's 6 years. If we're only paying out 50% of the monthly max, which goes a long way in most other countries, that means it could be for 12 years. Okay, and there is no facility requirement with this, and you have straight cash indemnity. So if you have clients where that's a possibility, this is a big differentiator with our product. Inflation protection, once again, more flexibility than anyone else. We do 3 and 5%, both simple and common. The only thing I would say is always check your quick quote page on 10 of 14 in the illustration, because sometimes, particularly with males, our 5% simple may be better from day one all the way through versus the 3% compound. So a lot of times you're going to be comparing 3% to 3% with another carrier. Take a look at that 5% simple just to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck when it comes to that. And then you can also, on our software, on our website, just ask for the maximum benefit at age 80, and that will tell you which plan to go with. So we have guarantees. Obviously, this is the old live, die, quit. You have long-term care benefit if you wind up qualifying with 2 out of 6 ADLs or a cognitive issue. That comes out tax-free. If you never use it, there's a death benefit. That also flows to the named beneficiary, income tax, capital gains tax-free, and those two sort of quitting benefits, the reduced paid up benefit and the return of premium. So fully guaranteed fixed UL life contract. Now, one of the things that's sort of a big differentiator for us, and we're one of 2 companies that do this, but I think we were the first, are the tax benefits that are available with this, the way we've structured this policy. What we did is we changed from we basically take a look at the premium. We've broken out the premium into 2 parts. This will be on every illustration on page 2 of 4. The face amount, and then we have the acceleration, extension, and the inflation protection. We call them agreements. They're really riders, okay? But what you'll see is that you're really looking at the ability for some potential deductibility here, because we consider those qualified long-term care premiums. So if you ever did any traditional long-term care and you did some carve-outs, or you work with business owners, this should be something that you should be able to run with. So that's what you have. That'll be on 2 of 14. So let's take a real quick look at 3 items. An individual. Let's say you were to sell an individual one of these policies. Let's say it's 10K. It's an individual. Theoretically, they can deduct up to their age-based limit or the full portion of the long-term care premium on that page 2 of 14. Okay? Theoretically, they can do that. 2 things. One, they must itemize taxes. And the second thing they'd have to do, and this is the unfortunate one, they'd have to have unreimbursed medical expenses greater than 7.5% of their adjusted gross income, which generally speaking, pretty much almost eliminates a whole lot of, almost the majority, just about everybody being able to deduct it. However, if you have an owner of a business and we set this thing up properly, they theoretically can have the business purchase this for them. And you're going to see it's a full deduction to the business entity. It'd come through as income to the owner employee, and they'd own it on the outside. And they could deduct either the full long-term care portion of the premium or the age-based limits, whichever is less for their particular age. And then a C corporation set up the same way, individual ownership of the policy by the owner employee, totally deductible to the business. They could, the owner employee owning that policy on the outside could exclude the full long-term care portion of their premium from income. So we don't have to look at age-based limitations. There are some huge opportunities here in business settings. And I want to spend just a little bit of time with those just to sort of give you sort of an idea of what we'd be looking at. So we have, Tyrone happens to own a company. It's an S Corp, and he's got some other employees there. And by the way, real quick, anytime you're talking about this, earlier you bring in the tax professional with the client, the better. And it's always important that you be able to form a valid class of employee. We actually have some very nice supports with that tax guides for both the financial professional as well as the client. But we're going to have a 10-pay here. The S Corp is going to pay $10,000 a year for 10 years to a Minnesota Life. Let's see how that would work out for Tyrone individually. That premium, $10,000. Remember I told you we'd break that out? Face amount's $54.73. If you added up all those long-term care agreements, everyone else calls them riders, that amount you'd have the ability to be able to deduct either the full long-term care portion of that premium, okay, or the age-based limit, whichever's less. Now, the full long-term care portion of that premium is $4,527. So that first year, he could deduct on his taxes, Tyrone, all right? S Corp pays for it. He's going to wind up getting a W-2 the following year for $10,000, and then he could deduct $1,630 on line 29 without itemizing. So that's the age-based limit. $1,630 is less than $4,527. That number is going to grow a little bit each and every year. He gets to 61 in today's dollars. The age-based limit for that is $4,350, which means he could deduct that amount, $4,350. In reality, it's probably going to be higher than the $4,527, which is the full premium. So he has the ability, I want you to think about it, he has the ability to use business dollars to pay a premium. He's protecting his income, he's protecting his income streams in the future. He's protecting lifestyle and assets by using business dollars. All right. So most of the companies out there are probably pass-throughs, a lot of S Corps. However, you will run into a C corporation now and then. So in a C corporation, remember, we're going to set this up the same way. We're going to have the C corporation pay the premium to Minnesota Life. Any kind of the benefits would wind up going to the owner employee, but the owner employee is going to own that policy outside of the business individually. So in this case, we happen to have, and once again, there's probably some other people, you got to create a valid class of employee. It's a 5-pay, $20,000 a year for 5 years. So let's see how this would impact Nancy. She's one of the owner employees. Here's the breakout specifically on this. 5057 is the face amount of the premium. The acceleration, extension, and long-term care inflate, you can see those numbers. And so for the total for that, all right, would actually be $14,493 for long-term care, $5,057 for the face amount. For illustrative purposes, because I don't want everybody whipping out their HP 12s and trying to figure this out, their calculator, I'm going to round that number if I could, just so you can see a ratio. Let's say the face amount was $5,000, which leaves $15,000 into the $15,000 into the long-term care riders. So I want you to think about this. That first year, business pays $20,000 on Nancy's behalf, totally deductible to the C Corp. She is only going to have to declare $5,000 of income on that $20,000 premium paid on her behalf, which means over a 5-year period, $100,000 comes out of the C Corp. She's only having to claim as income right, or a little over $25,000. Okay. Now, that's a pretty high ratio. One of the things we offer 5% compound, and it's actually decently competitive on our product. Think about this: the longer the females are going to be in a situation where they have the more doesn't matter male or female, the more money, the more inflation you put on it, the more of that premium is allocated to long-term care, which means in a C Corp setting, a 5% compound could be an unbelievable value, particularly for a female business owner in the C Corp setting. And we have, as I mentioned, some great supports around this. We've got tax guides for the client and the financial professional. We have some worksheets that you can use with the policy owner to sort of guesstimate what that tax deduction or exclusion may be. Okay, so you do have the ability to take a look at those items. Some great supports. Last item.
Hey,
is,
Dean. Dean,
yes.
one quick question. One quick question.
Surely.
Just on that policy design, what was the approximate death benefit for the client?
Well, if they put in 20 years, it's probably be, actually, if it was a 5% compound, I think it was, the specified amount would be a little bit below 100. Yeah, but what would occur is that it's going to track with the return of premium. The death benefit gets up to 100, within a few years. So
okay, great, thank you.
I don't know that. Yeah, and I run one for a 55-year-old, similar, just on a 10-pay, $10,000, and that person puts in, that 100,000, and the benefit pool for that individual was right around $600,000. So it was about $1 to $6 for a 55-year-old as far as leverage, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, yeah, you're welcome. Remember we said the individual couldn't deduct, they could theoretically deduct some of that premium using the age-based limits, but, you have to be really unhealthy or you've got a lot of payments going out. If you have an HSA and a high deductible health plan, you can pay either the age-based limit or the full long-term care portion with your HSA. 10 years ago, not too many people had HSAs. A ton of people have HSAs today. And major corporations, offer that benefit as well. So I'd always, if you're talking to a client about this product, I'd ask 2 questions. Do they own a business? 1, or do they have an HSA? And this is Howard. He's 67. I love his hairdo. His account value in the HSA's got 35 in there. He's going to pay $15,000 a year for 7 years. And as you can see, he's going to be able to pay with pre-tax dollars, age-based limit, or the full premium, whatever happens to be less. And in this case, out of that $15,000, he could pay $4,350 that first year. The $4,350 is going to go up a little bit each and every year within that age bracket. But when he gets to 71, then he has the ability to increase that amount that's coming out of the HSA. And over those 7 years, generally speaking, he has been able to use 32% of the premium he has paid, he's paid with pre-tax dollars. And all that does is increases his leverage because he's paying with pre-tax dollars as far as the benefits are concerned. Real quick, if you had to say some sweet spots, one of them is using inflation with higher age people. We are unbelievably strong in single premium. We're going to just about every spreadsheet you're going to see us winning on that one. And those are some of the sweet spots, and we will probably have some sort of a repricing coming at some point in time. So just thought I'd toss that out. Okay, so high level, fully guaranteed, simplicity, built-in ROP and return of premium, underwriting. I think you're familiar with that. It's a streamlined, strong international benefit. And I think because of the way we've structured this, and by the way, the only two companies that can do the tax deductibility and the HSAs are us and Nationwide. Let's say a money guard can't do that. They're still taking charges out of the cash value for their riders, and they are prohibited from doing that. So there's two companies that are doing that. Nationwide just came out with theirs recently. So, okay.
Hey, Dean, so do you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Do you
have
a question?
I'm
just
ready.
real quick. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Just jumping in there. So one of the agents is asking, is the underwriting any different if this is purchased through the corporation?
No. No, underwriting's underwriting. And by the way, we allow ownership in trusts and also businesses. I personally, this is just Dean Horger, it's not SecureCare. I think it just complicates things, personally. And usually the people, particularly the business owners that are doing this, control the business. I just think it's a lot easier and a lot cleaner to have the policies on the outside. But you'll run into some situations where somebody will want to put them in there, and we will allow that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. If there's any additional questions, if you want to put them in the chat box, while we're just waiting on those, I did want to say that we do have here at AgencyONE, you can contact the design team or the case managers. We can get you the pre-qualification information. If you need any of the additional follow-up info or want to talk more about some of these other cases, we can get you the things that you need on that, or bring in Dean if needed. So I think so far I don't see any additional questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Dean, before we wrap it up?
No, like I said, we just got a lot of supports out there to help. Our marketing piece is really strong. We have 3 sample cases similar to this that we can get to you. But those worksheets that you can use with policyholder are really, really important. And once again, if you're an advisor, I think you have an opportunity to pick up some additional asset management clients of greater or equal value. If you have a business owner who's your client and he or she has 2 co-stockholders or partners, and the chances of them being exposed to this idea right now is pretty slim, and you'd have the ability to come in and really show, I think, a great executive benefit. And I've seen cases where people have picked up an additional asset client or 2, asset management client. So Ed, just want to thank you for the opportunity of being here, and for everyone who's listening, thank you, and be careful.
Dean, got one last question just popped up. One more question. So is the underwriting any more favorable if you go with the single pay scenario?
Nope.
No. Okay. So the underwriting is the underwriting, and if you pick 1, 5, 7, you just apply it to that.
Correct. Oh, and yes, yeah, absolutely. Oh, one other thing, real quick, if I can. When you get an illustration, let's say you had a $10,000 premium for 10 years, that is that's $100,000. So what we do on every illustration, in the lower right-hand corner, we have TP, and it gives you a number. I'm just making one up. Let's say it's $100,000 over 10 years. You'll see like a number like $81,000. Okay, that's the target premium. That's what you're paid comp on. And basically, once we receive that first premium, everyone gets paid everything that they are owed. Okay, 100% charged back first year, 50% second year, none in the third. So okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Kathy, do you want to wrap it up for us?
Sure. Thank you, Ed. Dean, thank you very much. This was extremely informative, and I know that our agents are going to be very interested in following up. So Monday we heard from Nationwide. Today we heard from SecureCare, and on Friday we're going to be hearing from One America, and One America is the only carrier that does offer a survivorship linked benefit product. So I hope that you will all dial in on Friday at 12 o'clock. The reminders will be going out later today and then again on Friday morning. Again, if you've got anything that Agency One can help you with, your team is available and ready to assist you. I hope everybody continues to remain healthy and safe, and we look forward to hopefully seeing everybody again on Friday. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.